areas in your life where you're so lost in the details that you fail to register the big picture? Maybe you haven't even noticed that you're lost because you're so lost, and that's okay. Over the next 8 to 9 minutes, I'm going to show you how staying lost in the details blocks you from moving forwards towards your goals. And simple questions, in fact, one crucial question that you can ask yourself to keep moving forward. No. Not only is my alarm clock screaming at me, but it's also flashing like a red-eyed dragon, blinking over and over again, which means one not good thing. The power is still out. My mind starts skipping to the beat of a double Dutch skipping rope, faster and faster and faster. You see, my husband and I live rurally, surrounded by the height and the wisdom of lush, temperate rainforest trees. Trees and ferns and creatures and moss and tranquility. Except, ironically, this particular morning, I was anything but tranquil. Well, to be clear, it was very, in fact, deathly calm in the house and outside. With no power, there was none of the usual sounds, not the fan that pushes warm air through the house, not the subtle buzz of electricity, not the clicking on and off of the fridge doing whatever it does when it's doing its fridge things. Total peace outside my body, and inside my body is a blizzard of stressful thoughts. Crap, I have a full day of patients. How am I going to shower? You see, living in the forest, we run on a well and septic system. No power means no pump. No pump means no water. During our first Christmas in our forest house, we faced a terrible windstorm. Our power was out for 7 days. We didn't know then that we had to do things like fill the bathtub and fill water bottles when we knew that there was a storm coming. So we spent days flushing our toilets with water that we harvested from our backyard pond. We don't hold up very well in a windstorm. The night before this particular morning, there had been a massive snow explosion. A total whiteout. Truthfully, we don't hold up very well in snowstorms either. Driving home that night was the scariest, most treacherous drive of my life. The visibility was there any visibility? I could only see about a meter in front of the car. The flakes were the size of butterflies and coming at me so quickly. My headlights just reflected them, and it made it so much worse, so all I could do was keep my running lights on. Something that you need to know about living in the forest is my very distant neighbors and I, we don't believe in, they're just not part of our culture. So it's darker than you can imagine, and I have 6 more kilometers to go, deeper and deeper and deeper into the forest. All I can see is a slight shadow of snow on the side of the road where they had plowed much earlier that day. So I slowly trace that line home, and I'm so happy to be received by my snuggly, huge husband and the warm, cozy house. I take off my right boot and shake out the snow. I take out my left boot and boom! The ominous collapse of all of the sounds and all of the light. Complete and utter darkness. Thankfully, my husband had just filled the tub. And potentially even more thankfully, he had just pulled out of the oven a loaf of freshly baked bread. You know, that night was fun. We played we lit a fire and we played tabletop games by candlelight. And yes, we ate that loaf of freshly baked homemade bread. And now the panic of this morning. How am I going to get to the office and be somewhat clean for my patients? My resourceful brain clicked into gear. I know. I can get to my mother-in-law's. She lives by the office. I'll just text her and let her know that I'm going to come and shower and have breakfast there. Except I can't text her because my phone has no battery. As we were sleeping peacefully in the dark and quiet house, my phone was spending all of her energy searching for a signal. Is anybody out there? Forest living comes with a lot of perks, and regular predictable and steady cell service is not one of them. Although actually normally that is a perk, but in this particular moment, it was not a perk. I know, I'll just go sit in my car and charge my phone there. Brilliant. So as I trudge through the snow in boot-high snow, first, of course, having to clean off my car so I can actually get into my car, I sit, I turn on the seat heat, I turn on the heat full blast, and I hear that encouraging ping as I plug in my cord and she starts to charge. She's going to need some time because she's really drained. Oh, I realize I need to actually take something from the car into the house. Coincidentally, a couple days before, a friend had given us a hot plate, which will eventually go into the suite that we're about to build on our property. I know, I'll bring the hot plate inside so when Jay wakes up, he can turn on the generator and plug the gadget in so then he can boil water, make some tea, have breakfast, whatever he wants to do. Yes, we have a generator for when the power goes out. It does a good job running the well pump, but does not do a good job with the water heater and can only charge or only run 2 gadgets at once. And yes, I'm incredibly resourceful and I have no clue how to turn the darn thing on. So in this mad panic this morning, I'm making a mental note. Tonia, learn how to turn the generator on. So again, I'm trudging, this time from the car to the house, carrying this hot plate, my hood down, my eyes on the ground, focusing on my shins, my feet completely submerged in snow. When I practically run into the belly of my husband, who's 6'4", and he's standing there, and his chest is at my eye level, and I just keep looking down. He says, "What are you doing, honey?" "I have to get your mom's, I have to shower, I have to get to the office." This flurry of words comes out of me. "Honey, what are you doing?" And for the first time, I lift my neck up and I look up at him and I can see his face. It's not just a shadow in the dark, black morning. There's light on his face. There's light on his face. "Honey, the power's back on. What are you doing?" And sure enough, the light in our carport was on. I had no idea how long that light had been on, how long the power had been back on. I was too busy fussing about, putting out little fires that my lizard pyromaniac brain in my head had set. I was too lost in the details, adrift, to pause and consider my environment. My environment with power. With the power back on, I could shower. I could do all the things I needed to do to get my morning underway. And so when life feels like one big, long to-do list with micro crisis after even big crisis and big ones, it's so important to pause and remember the big picture. We roll through the routines of our days, habits abound, driving our activities unconsciously. We're in survival mode. We take the same route. We have the same fights. We think the same stress thoughts when we wake up in the morning. We eat the same foods, watch the same shows. And it's like we need a pattern interrupt. We need a giant figure standing there in both pajamas and a winter coat, illuminated by a single security light, asking us, "Honey, what are you doing?" And so I ask you this, in your life, in your health, what are you working towards? What will that allow you to do? What will you gain when you get it? These are big picture questions. And importantly, crucially, perhaps most importantly, why is that important to you? This is the crucial questions that I encourage my clients to ask themselves, and I encourage you to ask this of yourself. And ask it many times over. Why is this important to me? Why is this important to me? Keep going deeper and deeper. And why is that important to me? And eventually you're going to get something that is really core to who you are, who you want to be, what you want to do, and what you want to have. And hold on to that core. Put it front and center, not off to the side, not even a little bit. Keep it there. Let it be the first thing you see when your alarm clock is screaming you awake in the morning. Let it be the last thing that you see as you're falling asleep at night. Let it be your compass, your lighthouse, your security light in your driveway. Let it be your everything. So that when the storms hit and you feel like you lose your power, you can plug back into your purpose, your deepest values, and your reason for it all. What's important to you about that?